Hey guys, so we're gonna do a little tutorial again on grinding. What you see me doing this here is grinding the N690 heat-treated blank, my T-Rex. It's 0.14, something like 0.14 TIG N690 hardened at 60 RC. Now, a couple people ask why I started grinding after heat treat without any pre-heat treat. There's a couple of reasons. It's not as hard if you have powerful machine with the big 72x2 belts. I would not recommend it doing on 1x30. But when you have a good machine, it's not as hard if you're talking these decent thicknesses, not crazy thick blades. And you have less chance of warping while heat treat, no matter if you do it yourself or if company is doing it for you. Also, it's it's more forgiving. You're less likely to make a mistake when grinding after heat treat. You just have to watch the temperature, watch the overheating and burning the edge. So what I use personally, I like the 50 grit ceramic, definitely ceramic. Ceramics last a lot longer than aluminum oxide belts. They're a little more money, but you can get them for reasonably cheap. Normally I do use one belt for one knife, so it's not cheap because I have to run them at high speed. I don't have variable speed, so I have to ditch the belt pretty much after one knife. Now what you see me do first is that steep angle, just the first grind to almost actual edge. I leave their microscopic little flat, and it's about 35-40 degree per side. That's the angle what I do. You see it right there. This looks almost like a small little Scandi grind, but it's not actually ground all the way to the edge. I leave a little bit there just so it's always easier to get rid of it in the future than actually having it to grinding off too much, unnecessarily too much. So next step is I raise the angle a little bit, and this angle is pretty much about what my final pre-grind flat will be. You notice I do this on a flat pattern. It's not on the padding, it's still just flat. There's a lot of ways to do it. You see, I'm actually, when I'm grinding the knives, I'm copying the blade, so the belt pretty much always goes perpendicular to the edge. I find it more comfortable for me because I have better control. I can really make those grinds a little nicer, a little cleaner. And I've tried everything, and so far, lately, as you see me grinding more and more blades, I kind of developed the consistent technique. Until now, I tried a couple different things, and I had all different results. I just found that this works the best for me. When I can copy the blade shape, it works best for me. But like I always say, it might not work for you. You might be like muscle memory and motion control could be better with different techniques, which is one of the other techniques. Is you're gonna see it later on when I will be cleaning up the grind. Is when you actually run the blade on the edge of the belt. It works too. I've did it many times. I just find that I am able to get a lot nicer grinds this way. Now still doing the 50 grit with the angle that is pretty much what the finished angle, if you disregard the convex, there is actually kind of like an angle on the grind. That's this angle what I'm doing. And what's giving factor is when you start, it starts smaller, so you have certain amount from the spine, certain amount distance from the edge, and as you grind them from both sides, you kind of get an idea if it's same on each side or not. If it isn't, if you see that one side has slightly different angle, you just force that blade a little bit towards the direction, you just angle it slightly different, and after a couple seconds of grinding it will actually catch, and again you have the flat that kind of guides you again. So it's no science, it's just really like just doing it over and over. One thing what you notice, what I do often, very often, is there's a big bucket with the water and simple green concentrate underneath it. Often you see me every couple seconds dunk it into the water, and also there is a sponge that I once in a while grab and I just touch. It's a big sponge full of that water with the simple green. I just touch the belt with it, and it just instantly wets and cools the belt down, like for a good couple of seconds. What that will let you do is that will let you grind a whole lot longer without needing to go down, to cool the blade. You also see that I use my thumb as a kind of like a guide. Another nice guide, temperature-wise, is when you watch the knife, when you actually dunk it into the water and it's wet, you actually see from the other side when the water starts to evaporate. That's kind of giving signal that it's getting warmer and warmer, and you might want to cool it down again, keep it cool, not overheating. When you actually overheat it like really hard, like you would actually really badly burn your fingers, that's bad. That's bad. A lot of steels, a lot of these stainless steels, the tempering temperature, tempering temperature is actually quite low. So even though you might not actually burn the edge to the discoloration, you might actually risk a ruined heat treat if you even just overheat it to certain that you wouldn't have actual color difference, but just the temperature difference might be enough to ruin the heat treat. If you notice on the beginning, what I did was I started with the thick, steep angle. Started with the old belt. It was, kind of old. That's when I still have plenty of steel. Then I can actually push on that belt without worrying about overheating, because there is a steel that acts as a coolant. But as soon as I started getting rid of more steel, you grind more and more, I swapped the belt for brand new belt. The difference is you don't want to push on it. The harder you push, yes, you will remove more metal faster, but you also create a lot more friction, a lot more heat. So you want to push as least as possible. And another reason why also is the least you push, if you have good fresh belts, it still grinds nicely, but you don't actually push on it too much. It leaves not as deep grind lines, which is also positive for you in the later on when you don't have to clean as much. So you've seen that I had about the same thickness on the edge from both sides. You still could see the original thick bevel that I put on it, the steep one, and that's depending on how thick you want to grind the knife, how thick your edge needs to be or how thick you want it to be. That's when you stop, so you kind of get an idea how thick it is. And then you see me, I use the spray adhesive, glue and wool felt, glued it on, put the belt back, and this is how you convex it. It has just the right amount of give, and you just do the same thing what you did before, except now it's not the solid platen behind it, it's that wool felt that has a give, so that kind of convexes the grind. If you would do it on the slag belt, it has just too much give, and you would end up with that, thick, like axe-like convex, which isn't as good as it could be for knives. So that's why we use these. A lot of people use this felt, and it just works perfect for convex. Again, not too much pressure. Watch your overheating. Go the same exact motions. Try to do it, even. The grind line on top is kind of nice giving point. Nice. It's almost like a marker. When while sharpening, people put markers on it. You see if it's getting evenly smaller and smaller across the whole blade. That's kind of good indicator. If you're doing it nice and even. Also the line on the top where you leave the flat, that's also a good indicator. And you still see me doing the same motion, copying the blade shape, always perpendicular to the knife. This is still the 50 grit paper belt, and you still do the same thing. I actually even stopped using the scribe. I'm getting pretty good at it, so I don't even need that scribe line, the center line. I'm just by eye. So far it's been great for me. I think it's thanks to the fact that I've been able to finish many knives in recent past, that I just keep doing the same thing over and over without having to pause for pre-heat treat, grind drilling, and all that other stuff that I did before I did the water jet blanks. This thing lets me learn and practice a lot more frequently, so you really get to do that grind and pretty much all the tasks of the knife making more often. And you do it more often without big pauses, without big breaks between it, so you have that muscle memory, you have that eye for it, so it really works out great for me, and improving my skills. You see it's still decent thick edge on it, so it's still nice and lean, but it's a little thicker than what I used to do before. And again, it's because not everybody can use the knives as me or other people can, and you eliminate the risk of doing too not fragile, but too fine of an edge for certain uses. A lot of people tend to abuse or misuse their knives. This way you eliminate while still having a great cutting performance, but having it a little stronger. You eliminate the risk of me as a maker. You want to do that good balance. You don't know how skilled the people are. And I actually changed already. Now I'm cleaning with 120 ceramic belt. Again, fresh. Don't use them when they are too worn out. What else? Watering, cooling. Don't push too much on it, because again, more pressure, more friction, more heat, more tend to ruin the heat treat, especially towards the tip. Very, that's the trickiest portion. I did burn a couple of tips in the past where I had to ground them off, so that's the trickiest part. Very tricky. You just have to be gentle. And that water, I started doing the water recently. I kind of said, you know what, screw it. I don't mind a little bit more mess that I have to clean up afterwards. It is worth it. It does make my life a lot easier, and I am able to finish knives a lot faster thanks to that, thanks to the water cooling. And actually, when I will actually set up better shop, I will probably set up some kind of actual water cooling system where I don't have to do it with the sponge. I think it will be definitely much better. And now you see the change of grinding. So I finished the grind to the point where I liked it. I knew that, okay, this is the grind I want. All I would actually have to do to finish the knife is put the edge on it. And the last step is actually changing the direction of how I grind. And it's not actually grinding, it's just changing the grind lines. So now you see me, the technique that I mentioned earlier, where I just pass the knife across the edge of the belt. That changes the grind lines. That went kind of like in the circle almost, like in the radius. That changes all the grind lines vertically, just from the straight from up and down. No crisscross, no nothing, just straight up and down. Sometimes I do this, not every time, because me personally, I don't really care how the nice satin finish that I'm able to do actually faces. But sometimes you just for fun, just to practice, I do this. But it's not really, I don't think it's really that important. It doesn't really make any difference. I think both satin finishes actually look nice when you have satin finish that kind of goes perpendicular with the blade shape, or also when straight up and down. I personally like them both. I don't know, some people probably like different things, but again, just another little trick that I wanted to show you, that you can do this. You can grind the knife the way I did and then still have the grind lines up and down. This is the final finishing, actually, final cleaning, and that is with the 220 ceramic belt. Again, don't use it when it's too worn out. You can use those belt cleaning sticks also. I think I showed it, or I will show it, or I think I did. You can run it on the belt to clean it, to prolong the life a little bit more. But metal is metal. It's not like it's not actually stuck in that belt. When the ceramic belt is worn out, it is worn out because all the the teeth, the grid is actually broken off. So what I'm showing you there, you see there was a couple little grind lines that were just a little too much. The belt couldn't clean it up, so I actually had to go back to 120 just to clean it up a little more. It was just a couple deeper scratches. Sometimes maybe I pushed a little too much, or maybe I just hit some bad spot that had a little larger grit. So I had to kind of go back to the 120 again to clean it up more, grind it off slightly, very slight pressure. You see I keep my thumb right over the spot where I'm grinding, where I'm cleaning like this, and making sure that you never go to the even uncomfortable heat. Always make sure that, I always try to make sure that I can actually hold it with my bare skin with no problem. And if you don't push too much, you will be able to keep that knife there for a good couple of seconds, or keep moving back and forth. Try not to keep it in one spot, but move it back and forth. So I think about to clean it off, so I will switch back to 220 grit and just clean that side that was had those scratches. So 220 again, same thing, just clean it up a little bit. Now this is a tri-zag belt, one of those, I think it's called tri-zag, one of those with the crisscross kind of grit to it. It's a finishing belt, it puts really nice satin finish on the blades. Doesn't overheat blades too much, so this one you can actually go up and down quite a few times without overheating, if you don't push too much, of course, obviously. And I think I heard that you're not supposed to run wet on these belts, so I try not to. And you saw that it kind of cleans up that grind kind of nicely, puts a nice satin finish. Because of the way the belt is constructed, it kind of like breaks apart the grind lines that were there before, makes them a little more uniform. And I like doing that. And then the last step, actually, just to kind of like almost like a buff it up or clean it up a little more, put a little more shine in it, is I put the Scotch-Brite, my kind of old but still working fine Scotch-Brite belt. This is one of the cheapest Scotch-Brites. These aren't actual Scotch-Brites. These are from Super Grit. These were called conditioning belts. You know, in reality they are pretty much the same as a Scotch-Brite. I did hear the Scotch-Brite work a little better, but you know, this is a $10 belt. Scotch-Brite is a $30 belt. So you know, it works fine. It does pretty much exactly what I expected to do. And you see, now sharpening notch, the little nice trick. You see, I actually nailed the plunge like pretty nice, or almost perfect. That was a nice one. Dremel, little diamond wheel, little diamond rod there. Dremel out the sharpening notch there. And there is a little trick I'm gonna show you. I'll tilt the camera down. I think if some of you remember, I talked about it, to do those, round it off with the Scotch-Brite. That part right there, that little flat you saw there. So what I do is, right there you see it, back and forth, angling it about the same way, both sides, both directions. I clean the side from each side. The little, like kind of like a notch that stays there between the finger choil and sharpening notch, I kind of clean it up from both sides, from the front and from the back, and round it off on the Scotch-Brites. It takes a couple seconds, and it leaves really nice and smooth, kind of like a little niblet, like you see right there. It looks just, I think it looks better than just flat. It's just my opinion. I started doing it on my knives and I like it better that way. So that's pretty much it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you picked up some tips, maybe some tricks. And I love this. I love making knives. And remember, ears, I mean, not ears, but the eyes and lungs. Always use protection. Take care, stay safe, and remember, don't cut yourself.